Before we get started today, I wanted to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by a very special screening coming up in the city of Los Angeles. July 10th, I am presenting the Los Angeles premiere of the new film by Moturn Media, Charles Roxburgh and Matt Farley's Evil Puddle. I will be introducing the film at the Lumiere Cinema in Beverly Hills, one night only, Thursday, July 10th, and I haven't even said the best part. Matt Farley himself is flying to Los Angeles for this screening. We are going to be doing a Q&A live pod type situation there. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be able to record it, so if you live in Los Angeles, there is only one way to hear this conversation live in person. But more important than that, I mean, it's fucking Matt Farley's new movie, and you're going to be in his presence. So buy a ticket, and even if you don't live in LA, throw me $10. It's the next edition of Extended Clip Presents, and tickets are on sale now, July 10th. See you there. All right, cool. All right, cool. The promo.
I don't know, man. You ever just feel like life is just catapulting towards some greater purpose?
Average fat cats with bloated ego. We are the only DJ crazy enough to tattoo Jackie Brown on his ass.
This is Michael Mann, and I ride with
Extended Clip.
We're too low energy. We need to bring the energy, all right?
Malcolm, can you please stop hitting the desk?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's impossible to edit out.
Yeah. Well, I wanted the listeners to hear that, to be honest. That was intentional, but you're right. Thank you for the reminder, because I do. But I was making an emphasis. I was using emphasis there.
Welcome to Extended Clip. It is episode 415, and I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Averill.
I'm Malcolm Baum.
I'm JT White.
And today we are going back to the Ozu well. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Returning to one of the favorite filmmakers of the podcast, Yasujiro Ozu, with his 1952 film, The Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice. Now, other than the directors who we've done miniseries about, I think Ozu's climbing the ranks. Like, I feel like we've done at least 3 or 4, right? We've done like Good Morning, I think. We definitely did An Autumn Afternoon. We've done one other late period one for sure. And then right now we are doing The Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice.
I feel like we're averaging almost one a year.
Yeah, probably
maybe
one a year, yeah.
Right, maybe we missed a year, but I think we're doing at least one a year.
And I think that's what any cinephile should do, is at least one Ozu a year.
Seriously,
maybe
yeah.
Do a little binge at the beginning, not even a binge, but like watch a few, here and there. But slowly working your way through, I've found to be very rewarding. When I was like 19 or 20, I got into Ozu, watched like 5 or 6 of his movies, thought all of them were the best movie I'd ever seen. And then it took like 8 years for me to come back around to some of them and be like, oh, it's even better than I thought. Like, I thought Ozu was the god because he like reinvented a cinematic language. No one in cinema has the same formal language that Ozu does. It's very precise. And when I say language, I really mean it. Like, everyone else is speaking a different language of camera placement and the rules of staging and cutting, etc. But that's, if you know Ozu, you know that already. And I always found his narratives to be a little, for lack of a better word, like hangouty, and like the themes will accrue and the moments will accrue. But it wasn't until the last like 4 years, probably, like basically when family members start dying, and you start turning that page of your life past your quarter life and coming up on the mid, not that I'm in my middle life or anything like that, but like I'm past my quarter life. That's for damn sure. And your perception starts to change, and you start to see how the world around you has changed and your place in the world and your role and the people who you thought had certain roles in the world and what those roles really mean. And of course, specific to Ozu is Japanese identity, specifically after World War II. But this can obviously be transposed to any culture, and his like insights on relationships and family are just like beyond universal. I mean, I don't know how you can go beyond universal, I guess, but they're so universal that they are just like even Yeah, it's just like, even if he's making very specific points about Japanese manners, tapping into something so deep about how humans connect with one another and live their lives. And this one's no exception. The Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice. This is one of his many movies that involves two generations of a family and an impeding wedding, I guess you could say. And this one, the niece character named Setsuko, of course named after Setsuko Hara, the actress who was the younger woman in so many classic Ozu masterpieces. Setsuko is going to be set up for a marriage soon, and she has a very special relationship with her aunt and uncle, who are the two main characters of this movie, kind of. But the younger Setsuko is kind of how we enter their world. And this older couple, we see that they exist on this economy of deceit and like small petty lies in order to live their own lives and have these like conflicts just bubble over the surface, kind of. And it's a very strong indictment of the results of arranged marriages and how marital friction can grow over time. And Setsuko sees this and she's like, this is barbaric. I don't want to be involved in an arranged marriage, And so she rebels against her family's wishes, of course. And eventually, reconciliations are made. And it's funny to say there's not really too much more than that in the movie, but at the same time, it's a very convoluted setup with all like the lying and deceiving that goes on in the first 30 minutes for them to for the ladies to go on the spa trip, but it's not worth getting into all those details. It's like within the first 15 minutes, there's so much plot to take in. Most movies would be like 45 minutes in at that point. But the beauty of Ozu is that he can elide such big plot points that you would think would be like huge scenes in other movies, so that you can get to those true moments that evoke a realistic connection between people, that demonstrate people changing attitudes, or at least being nudged toward changing their attitude on something and making these grand realizations that aren't really like epiphanies. It's just that slowly over time you realize these things. And I'm speaking both about the characters in these movies slowly realizing things and the viewers. And I really think that you can't overstate how much Ozu's like specialty is letting these things build up over time and letting these character developments kind of happen alongside the viewer and just pack such an emotional punch by the end that, I don't know. I mean, I've said it before about him. He's the ultimate way homer director. You're thinking about it on the way home more than in the moment. Because a lot of times in these Ozu movies, I'm like, is this minor? Like, I'm like 50 minutes in and it's just another scene of them eating soup. Yeah, and then on the way home, I'm just like, that whole movie was perfect.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this one, obviously he's revisiting a lot of themes that are in a lot of his movies, but I feel like there's something different to this one. And like I've seen, I think we've all seen a good amount. Maybe you guys have seen more than me, but I haven't seen his whole filmography. I've seen like maybe like 7, 8, 9. And I feel like usually there's like a presence of like the real elders, like a octogenarians, right? Sure. Like, and they're not here. Like the middle-aged people kind of act as the older figures, and we kind of have like a young 20s with a Setsuko here. And even though it is about this marriage, and basically that's basically a lot of what is talked about in the movie, whether it's the relationship between Teiko and Mokichi, or Setsuko's arranged marriage, them wanting her to be in an arranged marriage. But there's way more scenes of like less husband and wife scenes and more kind of scenes of the wife hanging out with her friends and talking about her husband, and the husband hanging out with his friend and not really talking about her at all. And I think that's the key to the movie. It's less about their relationship in itself, but more
how they can live an independent life too.
With their relationships, and how it affects their friendships.
Well,
as
that is the key to the movie, though, in terms of their relationship is like coexisting independently, because it boils down to some very simple things. She doesn't like the type of cigarettes he smokes because they're low class, and she doesn't like how he slurps his soup and pours it over his rice because it's not how she did it in Tokyo growing up or whatever. And he has things that he doesn't like about her because he's easygoing or whatever. But the thing is, this couple has been together seemingly for at least 1.5 decades, like at least since the war ended. Or that would be less than 1.5 decades, obviously, in 1952. But this seems like a couple who's been around for a long time, is what I mean to say here. And the fact that they're only now getting to this is what makes it so difficult. That they're only now getting to this point where instead, their whole relationship has been defined, it seems like, by them running around on each other. Not cheating, but like lying to just get away for a little. Like Teiko, the wife here, as we said, lies to get to the spa with her friends where she's just like comparing her husband to all the carp in the lake and, calling him a bonehead and stuff like that. And her friends are laughing, but at the same time, they're like, this is a little, concerning maybe. Also we have a scene like later on where Mokichi is at the pachinko parlor with his buddy Nanchan, who eventually becomes something of a suitor for his niece. And he sees his old squadron buddy from the war. And this guy is like running the pachinko parlor. He's played by Chishu Ryu, who's an Ozu regular, the patriarch in some of his best movies. And they go out for a drink and it's like, oh man, this is like the two paths that could have happened. Like this guy, he has his own business, but his place is a lot dingier, and his wife isn't in the fanciest.
Well, he hates his
home
business
gear.
too,
and he hates his business.
He admits he's like, I don't really fucking like pachinko. Like,
no, he thinks it's evil. He thinks it's like
yeah.
a curse upon society, but it's the only way he knows how to make money. Meanwhile, Mokichi, who these guys were on equal footing in the war. This guy's got servants running around the house, like he can send his wife off to the spa whenever she wants to. He won't even notice the bank statement if she, goes on a vacation or something like that. And they get to be the aunt and uncle that spoil their niece, and as I said earlier, the servants play such a big part in this too, because the ultimate gesture at the end is sharing a late night snack together. This couple, they can barely even get that late night snack together because the servants make all their food. So they're like searching through the kitchen for the rice cooker for like 5 minutes, and I just think that speaks so much to how, the patriarch of the family, Mokichi, he says he wants to live like an unadorned, simple life. And you have to think he probably resents the fact that his eating schedule is dictated by servants, despite the fact that this is emblematic of high class living. And that clearly is Ozu making a commentary on that.
Yeah, there are so many satirical elements to this one that I think blend together really well, because I don't think they're inextricably linked. You can't really pull them apart here. Like, I would say, obviously there is a generational divide at play, but I also feel like this is more heavily about gendered relationships. And I think that in part, obviously it has something to do with societal structure at the time. In Japan in the 50s, I don't think there is a lot of guys and gals hanging out together. I mean, same thing in the States. I feel like that type of gendered friendship, it was very much so divided along those lines. And I think that's in part makes the Setsuko character very interesting in how she's able to kind of glide between worlds there and sort of invade some of the male spaces. I mean, sometimes even the women, when they all go to the baseball game, are kind of invading traditionally male spaces. There's just that interesting play here with gender conventions that I don't think is like absent in any other Ozu movies. I think it just like rises to the forefront here in a very interesting way. And again, like it is tied to like the generational difference where it's just like there's like Mokichi and Taiko seem like they unquestioned, like they didn't question this arranged marriage. They readily accepted their role in it. And then because of that, they just kind of lead separate lives because it's just like, oh, okay, well, we're married. We're together at home. But like, I don't know, that divide and yeah.
It is, the Setsuko character, like I feel like more so than any other Ozu character that I can recall, feels like the most assured in her own decisions. And like, you know, of course she faces pushback for kind of going against this arranged marriage deal. You know, she gets scolded by the family members, but she's always very strong in her conviction that she doesn't want to do that. And she, you know, like I feel like there's other Ozu movies that kind of tackle this subject of like, you know, you got to get, you know, you're a young woman, you need to get married. And you know, like the female character usually struggles with the feeling that they don't want to do that, but also like kind of wants to balance out, well, I can't disappoint my family, you know, I can't disrupt the family structure that's been set out for me. And in this one, yeah, she's really willing to do so. Like, and also what JT was talking about, the baseball, yeah, like with that, like that kind of feels like, I don't know, the culture at the time. I actually had like a dumb guy thought where I'm like, we're you know, before before like TV was invented, like were like women more generally into sports, which doesn't
Do you
quite
think before TV they were more?
well,
I
like
would think
well,
after.
well, yeah, it doesn't make sense. But like I'll go through my thought process.
Yeah.
But I was just like, you know, back then, and this isn't even true because there was, you know, they had romantic novels and other things, you know, targeted towards women. But in my very, you know, dumb, uneducated thought, I was like, well, you know, they were just at like the mercy of like male entertainment, right? So like maybe, you know, if they're, you know, with the dawn of like television, and there's more female focused, you know, entertainment, they kind of had to. But then I looked it up, and it's like, actually, no, they were not more into sports because there was more social expectation to be modest and womanly. Exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah. But so, you know, not a very good thought. Maybe shouldn't have even expressed it.
I can cut it out if you want.
No. But I think it's interesting to see, you know, what I'm thinking about. But yeah.
Hey, that's why we do the podcast. You know? There is also an interesting note here about, you know, the generational changes here in the post-war Japan aspect of it, like every post-war Ozu movie, where I believe like the Nanchan character, the guy who is like kind of hanging out with the family here and there. I think he's a business associate, maybe, of the patriarch.
Oh
yeah.
Mokichi's like younger colleague,
yeah, he's like his younger homie. Yeah.
His friend. It seems like they're friends.
I mean, like friends, but like work friends.
Sure, yeah.
They're work friends, and also I think he's his boss too.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but regardless, what was I going to say about him? Yeah, so Nanchan, who's like kind of the more modern, sensitive type, head in the clouds is the big descriptor for him. And you have to think this guy grew up around the backdrop of the war. It's even said that his older brothers died in the war, you know? And this is something I've been thinking about a lot. This is like a recurring thing I've been noticing in fiction that's set around post-war time, of like this idea of not being old enough to fight and having your older brother go off and get killed. It's in The Plot Against America by Philip Roth. It's in The Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice. I believe this actually happened to Philip Roth with his older brother, and that informed a lot of his life, you know? I'm not sure if it like happened just like that though, like in the book, but it's like a thing that he's written about multiple times in fictional settings. And I don't know, to me, it even works better though with Japan than America because of like this almost, I don't know what the right word is, but like after, you know, America drops two atomic bombs on them, there's like a cultural castration almost at the hands of America. And like I feel like post-war Japanese ideas of masculinity when they're not, and this is purely from Japanese cinema, when it's not looking back at the past, like samurai pictures and whatnot, it's often emulating a Western sense of masculinity. And that just feels like a cultural ripple of World War II, kind of. And obviously, baseball was around in Japan since way before that, gets huge in the 30s when players like Babe Ruth go and tour over there. But I don't know, there's something about the post-war movies and seeing like women at the baseball games here, and even women at like the cycling velodrome, whatever. And the Setsuko character can just like go out for the day and see a movie by herself if she wants to. I feel like there's more, slowly creeping in Western values. I mean, it's not a crazy thing to say. It's an aspect of every Ozu movie at a certain point is the contradictions of traditional Japanese values versus the impeding Western values. But anyway, I just wanted to bring up the aspect of Nanchan, who's like a really interesting character to me because he only gets, he pops in and out of the movie throughout. He goes to the pachinko parlor and he goes on some friendly meals with Setsuko, but it's nothing too heavy is implied there. And I don't know, it really speaks to Ozu's predilection for eliding what you would expect in a movie. Like, instead of, let's say, ever seeing Setsuko's mom telling her that she needs to get married, I'm pretty sure we never see Setsuko's mom in the whole movie. Instead, we see 5 scenes of Nanchan with his head in the clouds at the pachinko parlor or at the pork cutlet place, which, by the way, the neon signage at Calorie Mart or Calorie Hut.
Oh my god.
The pork cutlet place is beautiful. Such a cute fat pig. Awesome.
Definitely would snap a picture of that.
I mean, that's that's what you see in LA these days, like in like Koreatown. That's some Koreatown LA 2020s signage. And that's a compliment, by the way.
Yeah, not a critique. I think like with the conflict of in Ozu movies where there's tradition and then there's someone who's going against tradition. Like I said, like Setsuko is very like set in her mind of what she wants to do, and I feel like instead of kind of having like that octogenarian character who's like, you just have to do it, have to do it, with Mokichi, like you could tell that he's just kind of scolding her because that's what he thinks his wife wants him to do. And there's just like a lot of in terms of relationship roles where with Mokichi in general, like he's just kind of like drifting through life like a little bit kind of carelessly, but just kind of he doesn't really seem to care that much. And like Teiko seems to like kind of do things to like kind of provoke him into like maybe a more traditional role. He just has so much kind of indifference.
Yeah, also the shots, and just to speak a little bit of the style and the form here, this is one of Ozu's like later, and when I say later, I mean before he goes into his color period, but one of the later ones to involve as much camera movement as it does. Ozu's films are often distinguished by their lack of camera movement and full stillness. His color movies have like no movement whatsoever, but I think the great thing about his black and white movies is that they are so sparse with their camera movement when they do use it, particularly like the 30s movies. I remember the Only Son has a really impactful tracking shot in a classroom, and in this one it's like these reverse dollies that are very elegant in the house, and each one is like leading up to a scene where a dynamic of the lead couple's relationship is exposed, but it's not really like that much of a one-to-one, like formal to narrative rule or anything. He's not being like, every time you see this dolly shot, it means this is going to happen, but it feels like he's reserving that backing up reverse dolly that he uses 3 or 4 times throughout the movie, like to kind of introduce the viewer into some heavier domestic material, like as a transition from some lighter fare maybe.
Yeah, and it like takes place in that domestic space mostly empty. I
Yeah.
feel like for the most part when he's doing that.
Yeah, for
And
the most part it is. I think there's one shot where the characters are in it, but otherwise it's all like just empty rooms. Yeah.
Well, it's just like that's such a beautiful quality, I think, to kind of all of Ozu's films. I mean, going to his I don't know, stylistic choices to show all of the signs and like really hold on signs throughout his filmography. That and just like this sort of like fascination with depicting spaces where the characters live without them present in it. I think just like makes you as a viewer just like live there just a hair more and perceive like how it's shaping and impacting like those around them. And I mean, for like this film in particular, so much of it is dictated by not like the strict rules, like too strict rules of the domestic space, but especially because like what Eddie had said earlier, where like that last like true moment of like intimacy that occurs between the couple, it's not in like the study where they've had like conversations before. It's not even at the dinner table. It's at this like offshoot like side room, like in the servants' quarters there where they like prepare food. And again, it's just like one of the funnier like class like satire elements of it, that is just like, oh, these motherfuckers don't even know where anything is in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like the first positive scene that happens in the house, because I think there's more of a focus on this one than maybe other ones I've seen, where I feel like the characters are going out a lot. You know, they're going out and experiencing.
It's
nightlife.
absolutely worth noting that they're eating outside the house more often in this one than they usually do in Ozu. There's like the one scene where she breaks her silent treatment to scold him for slurping his soup, but otherwise they're eating at the cutlet place or the ramen place.
Yeah, and like I feel like at the beginning of the movie too, there's a scene where Taiko's kind of mad at Mokichi because he went out to eat and she was like waiting for him to eat, and you know they didn't really communicate on when dinner was going to be. I was going to say that's just that's almost too classic.
That's been a thing for me since I was like 15 with my mom. Like fucking getting fast food on the way home from school, and she's like, "I'm fucking cooking. What are you doing?" You know?
Yeah, and
I never learned my lesson, and I've had that issue with every girl I've ever dated.
Some things never, fast food, man, it's ruined a lot of relationships.
Just
people don't
me
know.
walking in the apartment with a McDonald's bag and then the facial change. Just
Ronald McDonald, the Jack guy from Jack in the Box. You got some crimes to answer to, man. You're ruining families.
Absolutely.
But obviously, they're also going out a lot, due to their like disconnect in their relationship, and they kind of delve into their individual lives. And I feel like there's a lot of Ozu movies that are pretty domestic, where a lot of it takes place in the house. And I guess it's just all to say, like, there's just some aspects in this Ozu that kind of makes it really stand out to me compared to some of the other ones. Not even necessarily that I think the quality is so much better, but just what the characters are up to just feels a little bit different.
The ending is so powerful too, because that anticipation of what we had mentioned before of them not knowing where anything is in their own kitchen, it really is just like getting you hyped up, because it seems like the first time they're actually working together on anything rather than being combative. They're actually just like working together to find a snack, and then they get that title snack going. And first of all, I have a little side note on this. So when someone says something like green tea over rice, the implication is that like you're having a bowl of rice and you have a pot of green tea on the side, right? Like
no,
hold on.
That's not what I think. I'm just putting that on the record, but yes.
So like if someone says I'm having tea over crackers or something like that, crackers over tea, that means you're having tea and crackers. Now I'm saying this because I will admit I had never heard this phrase until, and this is like 7-8 years ago or so. I'm working at a sushi bar, and I'll admit, I'm already a little disarmed at the very attractive young lady placing an order to me. You know,
I'm listening now.
she asks for green tea over rice.
Oh.
I had never heard this phrase in my fucking life. I'm stupid. I'm just like, wait, you want me to like pour the tea over the rice? She's like, no, I just want tea and rice. I was like, oh, okay. And like, she gave me attitude, you know, because I clearly was like, you know,
You didn't know.
yeah.
But that's also crazy because people do eat green tea on rice. Like that's like it's not uncommon. Like it's a fair, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe you probably not ordering that at like a restaurant.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's the thing. So because of that, whenever I saw that phrase after and it started popping up more often, especially because, you know, I got into Ozu, it's like I was just like, oh yeah, that just means like the combination of a food and drink like served together, you know, like like beer over sausage or something. You know, like let's have some beers over some sausage or some sausage over some beers, you know, like food over drink, drink over food. Like to me, that means with. Like, you know, on the side. So then, imagine my surprise when he pours the tea into the rice, it starts slurping it. I start hooting and hollering
like, oh my
someone
God.
just hit a grand slam, you know? Like, I'm losing it. And then, but that's the thing. She had complained about his slurping before, and he convinces her to eat the rice with the tea poured over, and she can't help but admit how good it is. And the best part about it, the most Ozu definitive part about it, is that the scene ends there. And then the actual reconciliation is just like described later with her telling her friends that they're like, yeah, and then we just made up later. And, you know, she even tells another story about what happened that night or something like that. And then, of course, the film ends on Setsuko and Nanchan having a little hangout, you know, a date hang, who knows?
Doing romantic dancing on the street. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? When you run up and down the sidewalk, you know, that type of thing.
Exactly. Well, it is a really weird game where he's like trapping her in a little
Yeah, I guess
booth,
it's more. Yeah, it's more like chasing. Yeah,
Yeah.
like tag or
Yeah.
something like that.
but anyway, it's a really beautiful ending, though. As this young couple are free to pursue each other instead of being forced into an arranged marriage. And the thing is, it's like even with the arranged marriage, the moving part about it is that they're able to make it work, you know, despite all the conflict. But it's also a warning against that. And it's saying like, make sure you know what you're getting in for, you know. And the moral of it really is that like marriage, more than any other type of just like loving relationship or whatever, the long haul of marriage is all about consistency, as a character says in this. And man, it really hit like a pile of bricks when that happened. Like, I don't know, it felt very impactful to me, where that seems to describe relationships at that stage in a more mature way than I had been used to in movies, I guess. And yeah, I find it to be a very emotionally mature movie, as they like to say, which is also very funny because like Ozu lived with his mom till he died.
Yeah,
right?
it
Like
is.
he never even had a girlfriend. Like,
It is funny. I've thought about that because he's made so many movies about like relationships
Yeah.
and like the pressure to get like married,
and
usually from a female
intergenerational,
yeah.
like how we're passing things on to the next generation. He did not leave any children behind, you know.
Well,
Yeah,
he
well-
knew it all already. He was
Yeah.
just like, I've observed all there is to know about human relationships, and I have determined through my empirical knowledge
Yeah.
of human relationships that the best way to live is just jacking off and living at your mom's house your whole life.
I've examined all these marriages, man. They don't seem too fun, you know. They don't.
And that's why I'm moving in with my dad at the end
Yeah,
of this month.
Taking the Ozu pill. Trying to
Taking the
live
Ozu pill. I'm sure
Ozu
explaining
lifestyle.
it as that. I'm sure my dad would have said no if I framed it as I'm trying to be more like Ozu.
You're like, okay,
I'm
cool,
out of
cool.
money and
Yeah.
need a place to stay.
You got to frame it like that. It's all
Yeah.
about the framing.
Guys, donate to the Patreon so I don't have to live an Ozu-like experience.
That I liked you describing your green tea over rice experience.
Yeah.
Your history with the phrase.
So many classic recurring themes there of like me messing up an order, me hating my job, me being intimidated by a hot woman, me hating my life, being wrong about things.
True, yeah. All my favorite Eddie stories do go like that. But like, with the tea over, I'm thinking, me and I think JT was on the same page. Like, you're pouring the green tea on the rice when I hear that phrase. But when you said tea over crackers, well, I'm like, well, if I hear that, I don't think you're pouring tea over crackers because it just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't have the absorption levels of rice. So, like,
I mean, maybe you dunk the crackers. Certainly.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's
Maybe
not
you just,
over.
like, pour a spoonful of boiling water over your plate of crackers, and they just emulsify into a goo.
Yeah, soggy bread, I remember doing that back in the day as a kid, just like grabbing a slice of bread from
Dipping it in water.
No, just drinking water and just like, soggy bread. That's some good stuff.
Is that how you got fat?
Yes. just eating slices of bread.
So sad.
It is pretty bad. Pretty much, something
That's
to do.
how I got fat as a kid too.
Just eating random slices of bread.
I was doing the Homer Simpson 64 slices of American cheese.
I mean, I was saying other stuff too.
I was eating baseball, taking Kraft singles and folding them into squares and just eating them all day, like through an entire baseball game. That's how I hit like 100 pounds in third or fourth grade. Like,
no, definitely was just eating like eating just like a tortilla, just with nothing on it.
any final thoughts on this one and a rating?
Like you were saying at the beginning of the episode, even though maybe our life isn't exactly like 1950s Japan, there's a lot of stuff that feels relatable, and like kind of the Setsuko character, we see why she wouldn't be into an arranged marriage, obviously, with the example of her uncle and aunt there. But also there's just like a lot of scenes of, like, I love the spa scene towards the beginning where, it's just the woman talking amongst each other and they like start going in on Mokichi, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there like a part where towards the end, like, Teiko's kind of like, all right, you guys are going a little too far. Like, you guys are bringing this up like a little too much. Like, I agree, but like, and Setsuko's there joining in, even kind of ribbing her uncle, and there's this like kind of that great scene where Teiko kind of confronts Mokichi, why, she's not, being respectful to this arranged marriage deal. And, she, gives her the classics like, well, I see you guys and that doesn't seem so good. And like, I'm not Setsuko. I'm not, there's no real pressure for my family to get married or whatever. But like, it kind of reminded me of like, working with older people, and I would hear them describe their marriages or, more often their divorces. I think the happily married didn't really talk about their marriage too much with me. It was mostly, divorced men who tell you not to get married, hate their ex-wife, talking about how much money they have to give to them. And, they, I could see why relationships with some of those men might not work out, talking to them, talking about hemorrhoid donuts and, not to, and, just because you have a hemorrhoid doesn't mean that you're unlovable. I don't want to say that, but, but I'm gonna give this one 4.5 bullets, and I really like this one. I really feel like this sneaked up my Ozu charts. Like I think this is kind of maybe one of his sleeper hits. I know this is this is a semi-popular one in his filmography, right?
Semi-popular, yeah. It's hard to say. I really don't know, because like, there are the ones that were the popular ones when they first came over to the US, and then there are the ones that have become like Criterion/Letterboxd popular.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say. Yeah. But I know it's a popular title. It was probably the most popular one I hadn't seen yet. I think like in terms of Letterboxd popularity, it was the most viewed Ozu I hadn't seen yet.
There is a classic like 2015 era Letterboxd review where I can't remember the exact details, but he's like, yeah, all the guys in my class, they're into like Christopher Nolan, and then they asked me like, oh yeah, I watched like the green flavor of green tea over rice last night. It's about how a woman learns to respect her husband over time, and they're just calling me a pussy. Like, I can't remember. I don't think it went exactly like that, but like, I do like the flavor of green tea over rice is just a very from we're all film fans here,
Yeah,
but
of
like
course.
if you're like some 18-year-old boy and you're not into movies and you're talking to some other 18-year-old boy, he's like, oh yeah, I just watched The Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice. It's about marriage and Japanese.
Just saying, oh, I watched this movie, blank. It's about blank as like the one word. Like cinephiles just don't do that because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's an Ozu film, or oh, it's a French
True.
New Wave.
There's
movie.
shorthand
Oh,
knowledge
it's
that
a
we all
DTV
operate
action
off of.
movie.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're not gonna say, oh, I watched this movie where it was like Chuck Norris plays a guy where the CIA. It's like, no, it's a trashy DTV action movie with Chuck Norris. You know.
But
Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice, though, just to
Yeah.
confirm, it is the right now 10th most popular on
Okay.
Letterboxd.
Yeah, but I think, in terms of pretentious titles that I lord over people who don't watch movies, I think I'm gonna freak people out by being like, yeah, I watched The Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice, and I'm looking at them to see how they react. That's I think that's something I'm gonna do.
That's a good thing to do. JT, what about you?
I'm going 4.5 bullets on this one too. I do really love this movie, and I mean Ozu in general. Like I guess we haven't done a series on all of our favorite directors or anything like that. We'll get to it. There are so many beautiful films to talk about, but Ozu was definitely one where like. I relate a lot to your experience, Eddie, of talking about how like early on acknowledging like amazing, like God of cinema. And it's just like hard to think like, okay, well, how in your own estimation can like a filmmaker like improve upon that? And with Ozu, for me, it's like, I don't know, it's like Ford. Like those two are like probably like pillars of just like the best there is in film. And I feel like that relationship that I have to their art, and I mean pretty much most great art, is that like I can return to it like a little bit older and like get something unique out of it, like get like a different chunk of wisdom, a little bit more to gnaw on. And here, just outside of all of the other major stuff I feel like we've talked about with the movie, I think truly the harshest critique in this movie does come at like Taiko, and I feel like the rest of the women, like they're like, I mean, it makes sense from Ozu, but just like he's so anti their consumerism, just because like the gals be shopping and just like shitting on their men like rampantly. Like Mokichi is like obviously like has his own problems or whatever, but for the most part he's pretty meek. And Taiko is just like when they kind of come to see each other there at the end, she's like genuinely surprised. She's like, I thought you were dumb as fuck, and like I thought I could just lie to you all the time, like about this. And so she's being like very, like truly very cruel to him in a way that like obviously stems, I think, from like was alluded to like a wealthier family background. But I do think it is interesting there that again, like Ozu kind of like throughout his career, like does like, I don't know, have this begrudging acceptance of like Western influence. I mean, obviously because he loves like Western films and like can acknowledge like the diverse ramifications of like cross-cultural exchange. But I feel like the most venomous target of like sort of ribbing here is the fact that like especially one of Taiko's friends, like the she's like upstairs, like kind of running like a business, like a shop, like this elaborate like kind of I don't know, like dress shop or something. And then the husband comes in, like being like, can I get some money? Like and all that shit is really funny. And then also, I guess before we find out Eddie's bullet rating, I kind of wanted to, and I mean why I picked food movies, food week in general, is I had green tea over rice when I watched this movie, because again it's just like, I don't know, it's pretty, you're just pouring like rice over kind of a regular ass meal. It just makes it taste a little bit more savory and nice. But I'm curious, have you ever? I feel like the answer will be a resounding no from the two of you. But do you ever pair a film and a movie?
Did you say a film in a movie? Do you mean a food in a movie, a meal in a movie? You said pair a film in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Food in a movie.
I'll pair a film in a movie. It's
called a double feature.
Yeah, I'll watch a movie and then I'll watch a film. You know,
some real shit.
I'll more often pair TV with food, like because I'm gonna eat a meal and I'll be like, I'm gonna throw something on the TV to work with this. I'm not usually reverse engineering that, but I respect the grind on that. Like we've talked about JT's 3 Western chili before on the podcast, you know, and that is like really building a day out of that planning of the culinary and cinematic arts combining. And I love it as an idea. I just haven't done it much. I remember, I think it was like COVID, that 4th of July, because I never even like 4th of July that much, but I was just so bored. I was just like, all right, I'm going to make hot dogs and eat and watch like some dumb, like, I think I just watched Jaws. Yeah. Cause it's 4th of July. Yeah. Which that was probably the last time I ever watched Jaws on the 4th of July. But, yeah, I don't usually do it, but you know what the last time I did it for, as far as doing something with intention, was 2017 when Twin Peaks: The Return came on TV. I picked up some donuts on the way home.
Ooh.
That's
so
nice.
Which is funny because it's like Twin Peaks: The Return completely flies in the face of Tumblr-ass donut core Twin Peaks posting, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
But they do eat donuts in it, so it checks out.
it takes like 6 episodes to see a donut, though. You know, like you're not seeing a donut in the first 4 hours.
They're building you up so that you enjoy seeing the donut more. You're like, that's the fucking donut.
Yeah. It's a mature donut style in The Return. You know, it's late style donut representation.
You know, I think you do have me pegged, JT, where I don't think I have done something. Because you're talking about, like, it's not just like, oh, I'm grabbing something. It's like a specific type of meal that like matches the movie in a way.
Yeah. Matching, again, it could be, sometimes it's simple. It's like, and I'm not doing it all that often, but I don't know. You can
on
get
occasion.
like Indian food after watching an Indian movie.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little bit more general than I feel like is kind of fun to do. But I think like, I don't know, a specific snack or treat or meal for a movie, when the opportunity arises, I like to seize it because you get to enjoy everything just a little bit more.
I do remember one time, like, I didn't know what I was going to do, like, when I got home, but my only plans for the day were to meet a friend for lunch, and we got some, like, Chinese food at, like, 11:30 in the morning, just, like, classic San Gabriel Valley, just going heavy on the noodles. Oh, is that a place that used to be called Heavy Noodle? Yeah.
Oh.
And then I was like, Heavy Noodle? What's a heavy noodle movie? Fucking Drunken Master 2. You know? Like, that's a movie for slamming back some noodles and watching some Chinese excellence, you know?
I kind of want to do this now. Like, I kind of feel disappointed in myself that I haven't. I'm gonna hit the culinary lab.
Yeah.
See what I could, come up with.
See
try
what
to
you
match
can figure out. Yeah.
Match with the movie. Because I
well,
don't know.
you could
I need
always the other half of this double feature. You have some
Harold and
time
Kumar,
to
yeah.
get White
Oh,
Castle.
That's
yeah.
true.
Shit, I might just do that.
Are we doing Friday for that record?
See,
Here's the thing. I don't have a microwave.
Oh,
So we cannot
White Castle?
We cannot microwave White Castle burgers here and eat them because I don't have one.
Those I think I gave those a run like 5 years ago. Was not a fan of the microwavable
And the thing is, they're
White
also
Castle
like
burger. It was
expensive.
pretty fucking bad. Yeah, are they like, I can't remember.
The frozen like 6-pack I think is like $5. And it's a 6-pack of tiny baby sliders, you know?
Yeah.
When I was a kid I liked them a lot, and then they have them at the New Beverly, and once in a while I'll get them there, and it just is always a reminder that they're not good. But they're okay. It's like it's true microwave junk.
Yeah,
you know?
I was thinking more. I might just get a burger. You know what I mean? Rather than get
the actual White Castle, they steam their burgers, which is disgusting. See, that's the thing. Like, White Castle burgers are either microwaved at home or steamed in the restaurant, which just I mean, literally steamed hams. Like, that's a joke from The Simpsons, you know? Like, you don't want to steam a hamburger. That's disgusting.
Well, hey, they've stayed in business for a long time. They've
Yeah, because
built
people
a
got
quite
the
a
freaking munchies.
Yeah, it's these fucking stoners.
That's what we should do. We should eat like an edible cheeseburger on the podcast.
Edible cheeseburger.
When I say edible, I mean, I guess THC infused cheeseburger on the podcast.
Get some THC ketchup
Yeah,
or whatever.
Boris is going to town.
Yeah,
over
Boris
there.
is tearing up a shoebox there.
Yeah, my old Nikes are not getting back in that thing.
I kind of want to do. I don't know though. Like you're saying that made me want to. I want to do more nice things like that. You know.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna. You know, in a couple weeks, I might debut a food and film
We should
pairing.
do that, you know?
Independent. You know, I might
think I
go Alton Brown mode.
I mean,
Good eats.
it sounds pretty, you know, I don't know what the right adjective is that's like politically correct, but it sounds a little bleep, but like
We have to get over that. We have to start. We have to start acting bleep. All right. I don't know what to tell you.
well, I don't think you want that, but
Look,
Oh, yes, I
know
do.
That's why I said I assume the answer is no. You two cats are too cool for school, but my corny gay ass is
was a preface
eating green
to what
tea
I was
over
about to
rice
say.
and watching Ozu movies.
it was a preface to what I was about to say. I wasn't calling you G. I was saying that like
I think you're pretty G.
it's
pretty
been like
gangster.
a date activity before.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
like, which is also the opposite of gay. But,
Hey, you're not on court here, buddy. It's all good.
yeah. Like I feel like that's been a thing where like it's just you know I don't know, I can't even remember now. I don't know why I brought it up. Oh God, I hate myself. Oh.
No, just you know, I'm just saying, you know, the too cool for school stuff. You know that ends here, dude. I'm Mr.
You're sitting down for class now.
I'm sitting down
You're
for
30
fucking
minutes
class.
late, but you're sitting down for class.
Yeah.
But there's also an element of like
Thank you
wearing
for finishing that. For me.
wearing the band shirt to the concert kind of thing where like
Sure.
I'm not gonna go to El Coyote before a screening of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Sure, we don't need
you
to
know?
go that hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you know, but
And that's what it feels like a little bit. Like
but,
if I'm
yeah.
watching The Founder and scarfing down McDoubles the whole time, like it feels a little on the nose.
Yeah, true. But I get,
And if there's one thing I hate about food is when it's on the nose. It's supposed to go in your damn mouth.
Yeah, I'm looking for more subtle,
Subtle ass food.
subtle food that kind of sneaks up on you.
Yeah,
you
kind of like an Ozu movie.
Yeah, like food that you're halfway through eating it. I thought this shit sucked, but actually it's pretty fucking
This was
good.
disgusting. I was sending it back, and then I sent the waiter back because it was so damn good.
That's why what is it, the candy? Is it Sour Patch that's like it starts out sweet but then it goes sour? Or is that the opposite way?
I think it's the Jarheads.
Jarheads.
Warheads. not
Warheads.
Jarheads.
Jarheads. Like, what are they called? Jarheads. Wonka candy? I feel like
because
there's no more Wonka
Warheads,
candy.
Jarhead is about war.
True. No, I could see, an honest
We
mistake.
should do like Jarhead 3 on the podcast. I didn't know, but they made 2 sequels to Jarhead.
Really? I didn't.
Is
I
it
never
Jarhead or Heads?
I think it's just singular. I never even saw the first one. I got to catch up.
I like green tea a lot. I love the flavor of it. I got to be honest. I like a good iced, unsweetened green tea. Like if you're in any of these stores that specialize in Japanese goods and you see some canned green, unsweetened tea, that shit's going to be good. That shit is going to be very good. The sweet stuff I don't like, but as a kid I loved. Like the Arizona green tea as a kid is like elixir from the gods.
What if I made a bowl of rice and I poured some Arizona green tea over that?
It would become sticky rice. You would you would go from Japanese to Thai.
Okay.
Yeah, get a little green tea sticky rice going. That might be good.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Honestly, I hate to say it, Arizona green tea sticky rice might be like a TikTok trend dessert food.
I think we need to. That's the
I
first
think
post
I
on the
also,
extended clip TikTok.
Like
Yeah.
a great title for what I'm sure is going to be like a Zoomer cinephiles like throwback like Ozu bullshit movie. The flavor of Arizona tea over ice.
The flavor of Arizona tea over top ramen.
Yeah, the flavor of
Yeah, but I like that tea, hot green tea. The sushi restaurant I worked at, I drank that hot green tea a lot. I'm just going through my green tea history here.
Let's just talk tea in general.
Matcha I liked before it was cool, but now that
Oh.
it's cool, I don't like it anymore.
I still haven't tried it.
You've never had matcha.
I need to give
You've
it a go.
never had like even back in the day when it was just called like a green tea latte at Starbucks.
No, I feel like I'm pretty like Dennis Leary with the coffee. Like I'm just like,
Well,
just
because
give
it's
me
not
a
coffee, it's tea. It's not
That's true
coffee.
too. And and when I'm usually going to those places, I'm like, I'm going there for like it's a drug. Like I need to feel some caffeine. Like I need to, get faded off this coffee.
Now, JT, if I'm not mistaken, the coffee shop that you work at pre-mixes their matcha with almond milk.
Oh,
milk, okay.
I mean, most American, I feel like matcha is going to be like dog ass, like just,
Unless
people
you're in
want it,
LA or
like,
New
sweet.
York.
Like people, I like when I was making matchas in LA, like people would like it, like just with like mostly vanilla and like, or just like sugar. And, I don't know. I mean, I'm not crazy about matcha in general, but like, I don't know, if you're going for it, I feel like you want the earthy.
Yeah,
like,
the ceremonial matcha that tastes like dirt. Yeah, like it's good. It's fine. It's fine.
Is it high caffeine or is it low?
It has caffeine. It's not that
okay,
high,
like
though.
coffee
It's not like,
provides more caffeine.
Definitely.
Okay,
yeah. Sweetened matcha though, it's tasty. It's just like it's too sweet. But I was hooked on it at the last cafe I worked at because the matcha powder we had was really good, and I wouldn't sweeten it any further. But people who would come in would be like, "Can I get the matcha with 5-6 pumps of vanilla?" I'm like, you're killing yourself with diabetes.
Slowly.
Like you're
Or just like people get like caramel in a matcha sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want a matcha, you just want to taste caramel. Just have a candy.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
get
what
something
people would get a
else.
lot was
Eat
like
a fucking Twix.
like strawberry matcha with like other sweeteners in it and stuff, and it was basically just a milkshake, but like not blended.
Strawberry milk.
Yeah,
Some strawberry milk.
Yeah. But anyway, my favorite green tea though, that's tough. Yeah, not that you asked, but it's tough.
I'm liking. I always love talking about food.
Like
and
I
drink.
prefer just a good green tea bag to like ceremonial matcha. I would say like I like a good just like classic Japanese green tea, the cheap stuff. Don't go too cheap. Don't give me a Lipton Green or a Bigelow, but like give me some Tazo at the very least, and I'm satisfied as a green tea drinker. Maybe a little lemon and honey in there once in a while. Maybe just a little lemon. Just lemon with green tea is very good.
I want to drink more tea.
Yeah, no, I should. My voice has gotten worse lately, and it's because I've been drinking more like soda and coffee, and I used to drink a lot of tea as a youngster. I thought I was very refined. And then I started developing a crippling addiction to caffeine.
Yeah.
And that also kind of fucks with your throat a little bit, too, caffeine.
Damn. I've learned so much this episode. You know what I mean? I'm learning health tips. And,
yeah.
I'm 10 months clean from Celsius. You know
really?
what I mean?
Good for you.
Yeah. And I just started doing that because I was kind of jealous of the people who are like, I'm 1 year clean of like drugs or whatever. I'm like,
you just have to have something.
I want to get in on that.
Yeah. But you're not going to quit smoking weed.
No. The fact that was even brought up, I'm a little uncomfortable with.
Look, it might have been a projection.
Yeah. I think the green tea that I drank the most was like iced Lipton, unsweetened. I feel like my parents used to get a little 12-pack of the individual bottles.
Yeah. We had those for a little bit at home. Anyway, this movie's great.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your rating? What's your...
I don't know. I'm going to give the hypothetical Arizona green tea sticky rice meal 5 bullets. Absolutely.
Yes.
If there is a food talker out there,
I think
who
we
can
need
make
to
that happen.
We need to
make that happen.
That's like our shtick on TikTok is that we
are a food podcast.
We make food. We make meals that relate to the movie.
That would honestly be a decent like Substack gimmick. Like
Substack?
you pair like a recipe.
Oh, the
with,
recipe
with a movie review.
There you go.
Like I wouldn't do that, but that would be a good Substack.
That's something
you would
we're
make money.
We gotta put that under the extended clip umbrella. So if anyone wants to do that,
if
you can do it under our name.
Here's the thing. I just gave you that idea. So instead of pitching me an idea, you, the listener, can pitch yourself as the author of the extended clip food and movie spin-off Substack / mini TikTok podcast.
TikTok.
Well,
it's
Substack
a podcast
has
on TikTok.
Substack has like TikToks now too.
Wait, Substack has TikToks?
What? Okay, what would you call this? The what's the brand for the?
Oh, the
food?
branding for this food thing. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I mean,
Just shooting from the hip. The first thing I thought of, which is completely dumb, the flavor of movies over food.
the flavors of movies over food is good. I like that.
I was definitely thinking like spinning off this title for
Yeah.
sure. I was in that realm.
The flavor of movies is
the flavor.
just the flavor.
The
of
flavor of
movies.
movies
I
is
like
pretty.
the flavor of movies.
That's pretty fucking good. That's you just
As long as-
auditorially witnessed a brainstorming session.
As long
That's
as there is no like, just no popcorn puns allowed.
no,
that is
fuck
no
popcorn. We're done with popcorn.
We're done with popcorn.
No more. We're not ordering
Popcorn
at the movies,
is
man.
fucking washed. Popcorn is a chopped hoe.
I'll fuck with some kettle corn though. A little bit of kettle corn.
I mean,
Yeah.
sure, who doesn't?
That's different.
Get a little dessert popcorn going, maybe. A little savory flavor too, maybe like a nacho cheese dusting flavor. You know,
Oh, not on my kettle corn. No.
no, on a regular corn.
Okay. I like the white. I remember having a white cheddar powder phase where you put the white
Yeah.
cheddar powder over the
You
popcorn.
sneak it into the theater.
They used to sell them at the
Yeah.
concession stand.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think
They
I-
sold it at the concession stand at the last theater I worked at. Inordinate amount of people asking if we had any dessert flavored popcorn.
dessert. Just no, they don't even have a flavor. They're like, do you have any just dessert flavor?
popcorn, like sweet popcorn. Like I'm like vanilla. Like
It's like kettle corn. No dessert. You have any cherry pie popcorn?
cherry pie popcorn. Oh. I'm stalling in talking about food because I don't know what to rate this movie.
Wow.
I'm gonna
It's
go
a real
4.5
dilemma.
bullets.
Okay.
Though. Yeah, it is amazing. It's weird because it's 4.5 bullets. It's not one of my favorite Ozus, but it's 4.5 bullets. It's like my 8th favorite Ozu. He's one of the best of all time. JT makes a good point comparing him to Ford. They both reached master status at one point in the 30s for Ford. It was pretty early on in the 30s for Ozu. It was later because, and I haven't really watched much of his silent work. A lot of it's not surviving, but Japanese cinema didn't introduce talkies until a few years after America did, like mid 30s. So it's like the late 30s Ozu movies are like masterful. The Only Son is one of his best movies. And then he just becomes completely rewired by World War II, much like John Ford was. And it reaches a mature sensibility and a new height after that. And he just keeps getting more and more refined as he went along. And Ozu, one of the best. Can't say it enough.
Yeah, and also like every time we do Ozu, I always say this, but I feel like I always want to repeat it because it's good propaganda. From the outside, like an Ozu movie seems like something that maybe you're like, even though you know it's good, you're like, I'm just not in the mood for that right now or something like that. But it doesn't, like, it really doesn't matter. Like, his movies are powerful enough to where they could like cut through any mood.
If you give yourself over to it, you're going to be moved.
And like that's like even some of my favorite directors, I couldn't necessarily say that about all their movies. But like every single Ozu,
I'm not always in the mood to watch a Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you guys. The other day, I tried to put on Magnolia, and I was like, "What is going on here?"
Well,
and I've seen that movie a dozen times.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I've seen that movie literally a dozen times.
you're finally red pilled that movie.
No, I've
not
gone back
so
and
hot.
forth. No. I've done so many zigzags on Magnolia, all within like the 3 to 5 star range, never negative.
Yeah.
But I've gone back and forth on how good it is so many times.
Yeah.
Like,
True,
it was
I
my
won't check you on
favorite
that.
movie when I was 19.
Yeah.
You know.
It was. I feel like I've said this, but that was once my favorite movie too. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not gonna brag about how young you were though at the time you were 15.
But to be honest, it's like maybe
That's my
maybe I should have been
favorite.
playing fucking baseball instead. You know,
That's my favorite / least favorite thing online, where people will like use their own unique experience of being an outsider avant teen to put stuff down. Where it's like, Paul Thomas Anderson is when for when you're 16 years old and haven't gotten laid yet, and it's like, what are you now, 22, and you like, fucking John Ford now? Like, great,
that's because that's after
you
sex,
got laid at 21.
Yeah, when you get laid, you're like, oh, these John Ford movies, these Straub Juliet movies really unlocked for me after getting some, man. I really kind of see the world a little bit differently now. Now my movie taste has changed. That's what happens when you Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, email us at extendedclippodcast@gmail.com. Join us on the Patreon so that I don't have to live out the rest of my life at my father's house like Yasujiro Ozu and his mother.
But maybe it will result in some great art. So
I don't
it's
think
a
so,
pro and a
dude. I don't
con
think
type
I'm-
thing.
I don't think I'm making a movie while I'm living at my dad's house.
You got a place to shoot it.
I don't even think that. I don't think he would like that very much.
Well, if he's gone for like 6 hours or something like that.
Join the Patreon, seriously,
Yeah, but
guys. I need to live on my own again. And also I have a job. Don't fuck off with that. Also, but I'm not. Just never mind. I feel like I'm going crazy here.
No, it's okay.
Talking over myself.
Is anyone
double
going at you
talking.
like that?
No, but
Okay.
I'm preempting it because
Yeah,
I'm very
sure.
self-conscious about that. Like, yeah, I'm asking for money, but yeah, I know the response is get a job. It's like, I have a job. It's not enough.
Yeah.
It's the epic fail economy. Ever heard of it? I coined that term, and I'm gonna keep saying it until someone else uses it.
I like that term a lot.
Yeah,
I kind of
that's
wanted to
good.
catch
That's
on.
really
I've
good.
said it like 3 times on Substack, and no one else has ever said it.
If you're our most powerful listener, start using that phrase and spread it to people.
Check out my Substack.
Yeah. It's some good stuff on there.
I'm trying to write more. That's me planting the seed now to make myself write something else before this episode comes out. So become a Patreon so you can listen to the Harold and Kumar episode later this week. And we got a good July slate coming too. So goodbye, everybody.